Why doesn't the free market work for critical minerals? Like, why is it that we can't just rely on the price to supply the minerals?
I love this question because the answer is not going to come from finance and markets per se. It's going to come from the legal framework that a market requires. And the legal framework that we know in our free market economies goes back to late 16th century, early 17th century, where contract law was created eminently in the West. It's called School of Salamanca, happened to be in Spain. And so these people managed to fuse what was known as natural law, so Thomist scholastic tradition, with a consensual contractualism that was embedded in the way markets were created in Europe independently by the fact that cities, towns, were centers of exchanges. That's not the case anywhere else because of inherent nepotism in other cultures. There traditionally, trust does not go beyond the confines of the clan. That system was so successful, and afterwards, different economies in Europe ran with it, starting, of course, with capitalist Venice, and then Netherlands, and then Britain, and its own common law variety thereof. But the contract law was absolutely critical to embed and extend the networks of trust beyond people that you know from your personal experience. That's just not the case in other traditions. It's not the case in the Islamic tradition. It's not the case in the Chinese tradition, or broadly Sino-centric tradition, and so on. And so we have that approach in our Western world that somehow this is the best system, and with this best system, wealth has been created. And true, it has been created. But wealth can also be destroyed. And often wealth is destroyed not at all by free market or market dynamics, but by security issues, by insecurity. And fear is often a bigger driver than greed, and we should not underestimate it. So just like market dogmatism does not explain everything in our life, nor does security, nor does science, nor art, nor philosophy, nor religion. There's space for each of those. And I think we just sometimes, depending on our personal walk of life, are too connected and too chained to a specific form of explanation. Let me come back to from this to the Chinese case. Security is the most important driver. Security of the regime, and remaining in power is what matters. And everything else is just a tool for the regime to stay in power. I explained it in the book that there are more or less three major pillars of that strategy, grand strategy. One related to territorial claims, one related to acceptability of this form of government around the world, and one related to unwinding of the economic imbalances accumulated throughout the 35 years of massive leverage in that economy. In all of these, that leads to conflict. And in all of these, you need leverage in order to win over the conflict.